is Dawn, and you're listening to my favorite place, The Fresh Movement.
Dawn Richard. That is my name. I'm not trying to make it special. That is my father's name, his given name. It's my dad's Haitian, my mom's Creole.
Yeah.
Middle name is Angelique. It's not like a gimmick. My thing is to be consistent. If I'm known as the girl doing it right each time, then I'm happy with myself. Because look where I am now as an entrepreneur,
Absolutely.
as a businesswoman. And from what I'm seeing through reality TV, through life, we all doing the same. We all going through the same stories.
Absolutely.
Like even the best of us, you know, we're human.
On the flip side, I'm gonna keep running back, you understand. I don't wanna have to start alone.
And I'm trying to show a new lane for Black girls.
Yeah.
We only think we have to be one thing. I'm walking into these meetings, into these tech meetings, and I'm the only Black girl. I want that to be something else. There's something else happening here.
Yeah.
There's an undercurrent. The underground is flourishing with beautiful brown girls kicking ass.
Bussifame. Second line. Bussifame. Second line.
Dawn Richard, welcome to the Fresh Movement on Party 101.9 Radio.
That got me so hype. I don't know. That intro was everything. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
It was you, my love. That was all you. That was
Right.
you radiating your Black girl magic, staying authentic in all of your interviews. You feel me? That was you, baby.
Y'all play stuff that I hadn't heard, broken record. That's what's up. Y'all the real deal.
Yeah,
Real deal.
I'm officially a heart. Like I've been back since the Danity Kane 2008 era. So I've
Definitely
been down that road.
Yeah.
So first off, we want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for being on time and early. So appreciate that like tremendously. So let's talk about Danity Kane. How was that experience for you as a whole?
You know, to be honest with you, like I think when you think about school, I felt like that was, you know, an entry level to university, right? Like you kind of get thrusted into the situation. And I learned so much more than just a dream, right? I didn't realize the impact of what we were going to experience until I'm now who I am now, right? I didn't realize the misogyny. I didn't realize that we didn't have a support system. I didn't realize that as women, we were breaking a mold and doing something at a time where women weren't really celebrated or respected. Artists in general, but definitely females, and we were all different colors. I think I realize now how much we had against us, and we were trying to make something make sense in a system that was just really not built for us or wanting us to succeed. So to be honest with you, I think we did a hell of a job, right? So like for me, I think it was one of the most eye-opening experiences, and I'm surprised we lasted as long as we did. That's the truth.
Really?
That's very true. Now you mentioned
hell yeah. We struggled. Like I think we did the best we could, but everything around us was built for us to fail. Yeah.
Now you mentioned the industry being kind of built for you guys to fail and being misogynistic. You know, we hear that a lot, right? When we interview female artists, female rappers. But you guys, particularly, you guys had P. Diddy in your corner. So with P. Diddy being like the manager, creator of the group, did you find that it was a little bit easier? Was it those same struggles? Like, how much did Diddy kind of help you guys overcome that?
You have to understand, like Diddy, Puff is, y'all call him Diddy, that's hilarious. Puff to me was a businessman. I understand the psyche behind that, right? So we weren't necessarily to begin with, we weren't necessarily this inspiring idea. We were a brand and a product, and he saw an opportunity. He had created a reality television show that at that time, that formula was new. So what he was doing was so innovative. Old Town, the band, like it was the first time reality TV was, especially Black culture was receiving this, right? And I think for him, we weren't necessarily the end game, the brand, the money, right? The idea, the show was the. So yes, it was great to have him, but we weren't looked at as this, you know, like pro girls, we are with you. We were looked at as this is going to make me some money. And so we were handled that way, right? So I don't think it was personal, but I don't think it wasn't in him thinking I'm going to bring these great girls together and they didn't expect us to be number one twice. They didn't expect us to be that massive. I think what they saw was ratings, money, opportunity, and we were that. But in the midst of that, we were 5 girls trying to figure it out, and so we weren't necessarily, our personalities and our who we were as women and being groomed as artists wasn't the forefront. Right. It was how much money and how many ratings and what we could, what we were as a product. And I appreciate the business side of me. I respected the hell out of that because I understood that. But the artist in me, it was very hard for us to survive because we were on a show. So we were growing as artists, but we didn't have anyone really to be on our side to help us grow as women, to help us get out of the competitive head, because we went from competitors to group members. So we went from being against each other to having to be like lovers of each other. On top of that, we were completely different races. So some of us grew up poor, homeless, others were privileged, and so the thought process of what we needed to be for each other, that was hard, being relatable to each other when some of us couldn't relate to each other on a racial level. We had to do all of that, and we had to do it fast. And I think that was, I'm grateful that we had Puff, but I think Puff gave us the business side of it, but I don't think he wasn't ready to be a father to us. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't what he was building. And I think we needed someone to be a father to us in the industry way, like in the artist way, to really help us understand how to maneuver as actual artists, because we were strong thinkers. Right. And I think strong thinkers and product is 2 completely different things, right? They don't want your product to be strong thinkers. They want your product to follow whatever they're telling you to do, right? And we were 5 girls with big mouths and very big opinions.
Were you guys able to write on some of the songs, or was it all just given to you?
Yeah, first album, no, right? Because we were a product, and I understand that, but we didn't. What I think happened was we got in the line, and a lot of the girls that got in the line, we were established. We were artists ourselves. Dee was writing, with her sister and with all of them in Atlanta. I was an artist in New Orleans. Shannon was second runner up on Fame. She was on Fame prior to being on this show. So we had already had our own journey. So when we got on this project, we were in our minds like, bet, okay, this group is a super group, let's get it. And they were like, yeah, nah, here's these writers, here's these songs, and this is what you're gonna do. And we didn't really have a choice. That was what we were given, Second album, we went to Puff and we were like, yo, we wanna write. So he told us, all right, each girl submit songs. We'll get it in a playlist and I'll pick which records I think can compete. Again, now we're a group. Right. But we're already now still competing against each other, right? Think about that. We're second album and we're told to write records, put it in a playlist, and then he'll pick what he think works for the second album. Just so happened, Lights Out was one of those records, and he didn't pick a lot of other ones. He only picked some of the records that I wrote. So now that causes friction, right? Because people submit all these records, and
people think that's favoritism.
They think it's favoritism, but also women are always pitted against each other, right? And so already psyche-wise, we've been in a competition this whole time. So now we're causing friction. When truthfully, he doesn't have any feelings toward this. He doesn't have favorites. Puff doesn't play favorites. He likes people. He likes money. Right. He sees numbers. He saw what records worked to him, and that's what he picked. But again, it never causes a camaraderie. It always causes a competition. Later on, though, as we progressed with Welcome to the Dollhouse, we were able to all write way more beyond just that record, because we were able to come together and say, no, we want to write. And so Welcome to the Dollhouse, which is one of my favorite records that we've done, was us. It was more us. And that was why we chose the dollhouse idea, that we were puppets. Right. That was why on tour we were dressed in the nude. Yeah, it was kind of to tell everybody like we were these things with these puppeteer, these marionette strings, and we wanted our own movement. And that was why I love the record so much, is because we were blatantly writing on that, and we fought for that.
Yeah, Lights Out was fire. I mean, so is anybody listening is also like fire. That got me through some stuff. I gotta be honest with
I think that whole album was, I mean, Key to My Heart was dope, and that was Chanel and Dee. That timing was that is crazy. There were other records that were fantastic. I think Welcome to the House, the theme, the idea of it, I think it was really brilliant. And in that time, again, I look at it beyond just a girl group. We were a multiracial girl group, and I think that that's something that at that time that was very difficult. Spice Girls were really the only main group that was like that. A lot of the other groups that was hot, like Destiny's Child, Cherish, all those groups were either all black or Dream or all white. We were a different formula. We had a Mexican young lady. We had 2 black girls. We had Shannon, which was the all-American blonde white girl. We had the Cali girl. We had a really cool, beautiful range. And I think that was something very rare. But it also created a lot of controversy, because to be able to work in that space, we've all had to be on the same page. And we never really had anybody to make it make sense. But it was a beautiful concept. And I think the concept of it could have been really great.
I wanted to ask you, being that you've already touched on being in a multiracial girl group, we haven't really seen that these days now since Fifth Harmony. So I kind of want to ask, do you feel pressured into being one of the Black women that were in the group at that time? Did you feel a lot of pressure on your shoulders?
Hell yeah, and differently, right? So I was listening. I seen something that D Woods was on, and she was saying how she felt like we were always fighting, and the only time she was ever seen was when we was doing Black magazines, and when they saw Black magazines, she was normally the person that they would pick. And it's true, like, I don't think we were always fighting, but I do think it was very difficult being a Black girl in a multiracial group, right? Because visually, Puff aesthetically used Aubrey and Andrea as because they were 2 seasons. They had a season prior to us. So they were fan favorites, right? So they were kind of pushed to this forefront. But when we would go in the studio, a lot of times that wasn't the way it was, vocally, we were all singing lead. So visually we were one thing, and then in the studio we were another. And I think it was very hard for all of us mentally to understand the dynamic of that. And all of us wanted to be leads. We didn't want it to be one Beyonce, and we wanted all of everybody to have their own presence. And that was difficult for people to feel too, because everybody kept asking us in interviews, who's the lead singer? And we would all say all 5 of us. And they'd be like, well, no, there has to be a lead. And that caused friction, right? So being a Black person visually, when we would do magazines, they'd always push us on the outsides, right? They had to even us out. Me and D could never stand together, right? The Black girls can't be on one side. And then if we did Black things, I was never really the Black girl because I was thin. I wasn't curvy, right? I was more of a alternative vibe. And so when we would do the Black stuff, I still wasn't really utilized because I wasn't your stereotypical Black girl, right? I wasn't all ass, or I wasn't curvy, or I wasn't, like the homegirl around the way. I was something different. So a lot of times I didn't really have a space, and I was trying to figure out where that was. And I didn't really have anybody to help me facilitate that. Dee was trying to figure out her journey in that too. So we were 2 Black girls with the opportunity to really uplift Black culture, but no one was willing to showcase the fact that there was 2 brown girls who were really vocally and great and writers, and, could really help the group funnel that cultural side of things. They never utilized it, right? Because at that time, being a Black girl in face wasn't celebrated. We're just getting there now. So, they were telling Dee she's 1 burger away, right? And then they were telling me I was too skinny, or I wasn't pretty enough because my features weren't the normal feature of a stereotypical Black, like my features weren't, I was getting tranny and she's too hard. And, we weren't having anyone say, no, you could wear your natural hair. No, you could be your different sizes. No, you could have this element of, to your swag and it work out. Our Blackness wasn't being celebrated within the group. We were very present. Though we were on a rap label, right? When you think about it, we were on a Bad Boy, but our target market and what we were viewed as was a pop girl group with a predominantly white aesthetic. So being called monkeys, or being treated similar to what Normani went through is what we went through. But we didn't have social media to go talk about it, how she had a platform. We just kind of had to take it, because if we said anything, we would be unappreciative. Like we couldn't speak up for ourselves because we were the angry Black girls, right? So a lot of times, even on the show, Aubrey would be the one to speak up, right? And people would say she's so strong and she just has a strong opinion. But the truth is, Aubrey could speak up. They'd allow that, right? That would not allow it, but it would be an easier play, right? If Aubrey spoke up, she was looked at as the strong, white woman who has a strong will. But if we, D and I did it, it was all them girls is angry. That's angry bitches right there. So a lot of times D and I had to pander. We had to like figure out a dynamic that worked, because visually on television, if the black girl is the one saying I ain't feeling this, 9 times out of 10 she is the angry black woman.
Yeah.
And so we had to play that line very, very, but that's truth. It's the truth,
Absolutely.
because
I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah.
That's real. I mean, we didn't have a platform. We didn't have those, we didn't have speeches and, people writing about op-eds about the reality of what the black woman was in representation at that time on TV. It was new. So for us, you noticed D and I, we were very quiet, very work-oriented. Everything, our personalities were very much geared to how we had to be, we were very smart about the way we played things, because we were very aware of how we were viewed.
Right. So last question about Danity Kane. Do you ever see you guys fully, like the 5 of you, getting back or doing a song together, or right now it's just?
I can't answer that. I'm always gonna be yes. I have no problems. I love this group. I will die with this group. I got in the line purposely to be. I've always loved bands. I will always say yes to being with us, but I don't think that's up to me. I think all of us are severely scarred. I think there's severe PTSD, some seriously things within that cause a lot of heartache for everybody. And I don't know if everyone would ever want to deal with it, because again, like I said, there wasn't a time where people could really speak up about how much we had to figure that shit out on our own. So I don't know if all 5 of us ever would. I would absolutely fucking love it. To this day, I wish it could be all 5 of us. I would totally love it.
Before we move forward, I kind of wanted to touch on that really quickly. You said that it caused a lot of friction in the group when people would put you guys against each other or outside opinions coming in. Did you guys get a chance to sit down and have a conversation and heal through those things, or it's undiscussed?
Not at all, because there would have to be a mediator. There'd have to be someone to get us to that space. There's a lot of mistrust, right? There's a lot of severe, I don't know how to explain that to make that make sense, because when you don't have from the gate, when you don't have people rooting for you, you have all these things that you think of, you have to let it go. And I don't know if all of us are at a place to just say, we grown, let's let it go. A lot of people are hurt still. And we haven't really had the discussion on, even till this day, fans still have an idea of what they think the breakup was. People thought Puff had me on the side having a whole solo thing. That is till this day untrue. But people will go down in history believing that there was just this kind of malicious, when the reality is it was nothing like that. I think people have already believed what they chose to believe with these situations. And whatever it is, there would have to be a severe mediation to go with that, to get us to that place. I wish it wasn't that. I wish we could be all grown and just say that shit was 100 years ago and let's just get on the stage and have a good time. But everybody ain't me. And I understand that. I think some people need deeper journeys. I think I've had that conversation with Aubrey. We were able to sit down and have it, because there were a lot of horrible shit her and I went through. There were bad things that was said that I wasn't really feeling from them as a Black woman, real talk. And I never really publicly expressed that, because I never wanted people to think badly of them, of Shannon and Aubrey, but I didn't really like the way that last breakup, it was real Black girl, angry. It looked real bad on my end, and it made people feel like I was this, and it wasn't that at all. And so we had to have a long discussion. And I think after we had that, she understood a little bit better what it means for a Black woman in this space, especially when we got back together, because I was the only Black girl in that vehicle. And I wanted to make sure I didn't make the same mistakes I was making prior. I wanted to make sure my Black was celebrated, and the choices I was making when I'm with 2 white girls is making sure that I don't cover up what needs to, I have to be purposeful in the way we look, the way we present ourselves out as a Black woman. And I think they don't think in that aspect, because they aren't that. They didn't grow up in that type of way. But I was able to have, and I think we all should have be able to have that discussion. I don't know if we'll ever have it, but it would be cool.
It makes the fans choose as well. When you guys have situations, it makes the fans choose, and that sucks as well. But we gotta take a break. I'm sorry, we gotta take a quick break. We got more with Don on Party 101.9 we're back to Fresh Movement on Party 101.9 Radio. We have Don Richard in the building. Don Richard, oh man, such an inspiration to me personally. And just your message, your voice, your songs. Dirty Money. We'll start there. That was the first concert I think I've seen you in. And just amazing, like the vibe, the music, the songs. Please let everybody know like the experience you had with being in that group.
Man, that's when it shifted for me, you know, like I always tell people, you don't realize you go from having, remember I just explained to you guys what Danity Kane was, right? And what Puff was in that, right? He was a boss, right? He was our boss. So there was a detachment, right? He was present, but he wasn't really, you know, he was there behind you. And then all of a sudden he was my group member. So it was like you went from understanding a budget and seeing what you were as a product to being next to your group member and seeing so much money laid out, right? You got Grace Jones, T.I., Nicki Minaj, Belial, Justin Timberlake, Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, like Kanye West, Swizz Beatz, Danger. That's the studio daily, right? And so I went from fighting for Welcome to the Dollhouse to writing on an album with beats from D Mile, Rodney Jerkins, right? It's like, it was as if I walked into a candy store and was like, okay, this is what I want, you know? And those were that transition for me was so wide open. And as an artist, it was like I walked into the Sistine Chapel for the first time. It was like, okay, I can play. And as a writer, that was my playground. And I grew as an artist there. Meeting Kalina was the coolest shit ever. Meeting Kalina was the best thing ever because I think I found a kindred spirit. Like it was someone a chocolatey Black girl that understood her process. She came from Philly. I was New Orleans. And the energy that we were giving off was so cool. I was finally in a group where it was chocolatey. It felt, we were what we were and no one was stifling us. And we were given this budget to be great. And that shifted for me. It was the coolest experience and some of the best music I've ever made.
Yeah, that album was fire. And I heard in a recent interview, like you guys have so many unreleased songs that's not even on.
The album y'all got is the album y'all got to me is the Wax songs.
Wow. Can we ever get those songs?
Because what we first started with was, I think, Interscope, they had a plan. They wanted like a modern day Black Eyed Peas. They wanted whatever Black Eyed Peas was, but like our version of that. So they still needed it to be mainstream. Puff was on Soul of Soul. Puff was on something else, And I think when we first started, we were making Prince influenced Revolution, The Time. Like we were making some music that was just so off the wall, man. It was like, man, Rodney and them was hitting. We were like, this is amazing. We pitched it and they were looking at us like, nah, y'all, like we gotta shift this a little bit. So a lot of the records that we did originally got scrapped, but they were incredible. Like we did a record with Kanye. That record was bananas. We had a record with Busta Rhymes. We had a record with T-Pain that had two parts to it. It shifted into something else, going crazy, like so insane. There was a lot of cool records that were done that never saw the light of day. You guys got the
public wasn't ready. Well, they weren't ready for that album. So I don't think the public, they just weren't.
Or the visual of it. Or the visual of it. Like it was so brown. It was so like Euro. It was so Black but European. It just was beautiful. And I think people weren't ready to see that. I mean, Kalina had her her shaved head on the sides with the thing. I had on a mushroom bob. Like we were just not, it wasn't what people were ready for because we weren't ready to see chocolate look like that. We were still trying to make chocolate with bone straight hair. And our only idea of a brown girl being beautiful was Naomi Campbell. Like we couldn't get past, something else, at that time. We weren't letting Black girls shine in that way. And I think that was just too aggressive for people at that time. I think we would come out now, we would kill.
Yeah, I agree. How did you feel though when both of those, because Danity Kane ended and then Dirty Money ended? Like, how did that feel for your headspace? Like, how was that feeling?
I just didn't like that I had no control over it, y'all. Like I'm okay with taking my L's. Like failure is okay if you can recover. But I just felt like a lot of times I saw the possibilities. Like Danity Kane I saw it at its greatness, and it just was ripped away. And I was like, no. And then Dirty Money, the same thing. We were just on tour, and then Puff was just like, meh, again, you know. And I kept looking up, and I was like, you good. You got millions, bro. Like, meanwhile, we out here. Like, and I didn't like that feeling because I hustled so hard. I gave away so much. Like, I didn't have anybody. I was alone through all of that. So I made a choice. And I just was like, I'm not going to let it happen a third time. So I was grateful for the process. I even gave Puff an opportunity. I was like, yo, if I'm solo, I would love to stay with you and you could support me. And he didn't choose that. And I'm okay with that. That's fine. So I had to figure it out. And I had to choose myself.
So let me ask you, so, you know, managerially, or, you know, somebody gonna clock me when they hear this, like, he's not talking right. But would you girl by girl is all over the place. I mean, working with Puff, I mean, the man is artistically, he's great. Puff has a sound for music. He's always had that. But I mean, having him on that business side, do you want him on your team again? I know you said you asked him, but you know, having that experience with him, and even through making the band days, would you, you know, say take your pick of the litter and go, I'm gonna work with Puff? Like, is he a good person to work with? How much of that can you share?
Well, no, I just know that how to work next time. I'm gonna be my own boss. I could collaborate with him, but I would have to be an equal. And that's how I would come about it. I've done the other thing. I was the worker, you know what I mean? He was my group member, but I think I've worked I've always seen myself, like, I don't mind doing the work, right? I don't mind paying my dues, but I think 10 years is a long time, you know? So if I do work with him, it would have to be on my terms. And I think that that's fair. And I think that's how we've worked. If I don't ever mind working with any of the people that I've worked with, but it would have to be at a level that I have the control to be able to move the way I would like to move, because I've earned that. And I also feel like that's the best way to entail that I survived past it.
I agree.
Right now, Don, you stated that like we watch you evolve over the years. Most definitely, we watch you evolve. However, I just kind of wanted to ask you, what would be some things that you would say to yourself the day that you decided to, you know, officially take that first step towards your music career? Like, you probably have your fair share of regrets and some things that you're most proud of, but what would be some things that you would tell yourself the day that you first stepped out?
I think for me, I would have told myself to trust it. I think I've always known what I wanted, how I saw it. I've always had the vision, but I had so many people around me that didn't see it, understand it, that I would second guess it. And that to me is such a hindrance to your art. I would have told myself, nah, go for it. You're right. Keep going. Push through it. Because the fear is your worst enemy. Like, fear is an interesting thing. And I think for me, because I had all these, like, I had all these ideas, I got so afraid of being rejected that I just kind of sat within this space. And I feel like if I was going back, I'd say, nah, every time I would see it in my eyes that I was second guessing it, go through it, you know, because now that's how I move. And I feel like even if I fail, it's like, again, I could deal with my fall because I know how to recover. I can pivot easy. When you're younger, you're afraid of that fall because you think you can't get back up. And I that's the worst thing I would tell myself, nah, keep falling. Because after a while, you start learning how to fall. You start getting creative with your fall. You know, you realize you got a whole safety net now that you've created. You didn't put a bed behind your fall. Like, you've gotten really creative. I'm not like most artists where they're afraid to look ugly or afraid to look crazy within the public. We were built in front of you. Y'all have seen us in our worst. So I don't have a fear of trying something and it not hitting. Right. I rather do it. And I think I would have told my younger self, nah, keep going. Go ahead and wear that nasty weave and figure that out. Go ahead, shave that side of your head, see what that feels like. Try this sound and see if it works. And then, you know, keep learning from that process. That's how AI, that's how tech learns. That's algorithm. That's the way you learn.
Right.
So next you have your trilogy, your Golden Heart, Black Heart, Redemption. And honestly, so Black Heart is my favorite personally. And I wasn't even into electronic. I think you kind of opened that door for me personally because like I was I was mostly into R&B, pop, like hip hop, but like you kind of like opened that door. And I was going through like a really not dope, but like deep depression. And the Black Heart album like really helped me. It felt like what you were singing really, got to my heart, and it really made me go deal with it. And I really, forever grateful for that and you and that album. So please,
You don't never know
please
what that means to
explain
me. Thank
the
you,
trilogy
man.
for you and like what made you want to do that.
I feel like how you felt. Like, I'm so grateful that you said that because I was in your same space. Like I had left everything. I had no money, like I had given all that. I was homeless prior. So when Danity Kane happened, everything I made, I gave to my family. And so I had left dirty money, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I was in LA. I never wanted to be in LA, but we were doing dirty money in LA, and I was sleeping on this couch. I had no idea how to facilitate my next move. And I was like, do I even do music? Because nobody believes in me. I felt like I had given 10 years and nobody believed in me enough to want to invest. So I tried Telltale Heart. I did a mixtape. And it did really well. And I was like, okay, well, maybe people want to see me here. And then I worked with Drew as a producer, young dude. Nobody had even really heard of him at the time. And I just started telling the story. I wanted to create not an album, but something that felt like a novel, like a series, something that you would read in the Iliad or the Odyssey, like when you would read mythology and you'd see parts to things. I felt like that was what the last 10 years of my life was, right? I felt like I was getting these grandiose opportunities and then falling like as if it was like apocalyptic falls, right? Like, millions of dollars that in front of you and then just nothing, and I wanted to write about that. And I had been loving art for a long time. I thought color, the way I felt like color, and I wanted to tell it in that way. Golden Heart was the beginning of that. I just went balls to the wall for that one, like it was like I was going to just go. It felt like mythology, so like that's what I started with, was this kind of like Joan of Arc,
right,
grandiose feel of like the possibilities. That's how I walked into the industry, like I got this.
Yeah.
And then Black Heart was the reality of, no, I don't have this, and it was when we broke up, and I felt so miserable because I remember being told, be quiet, don't say anything when we break up, like when Danity Kane breaks up, I got you. And then the breakup happened and everybody was talking crazy and nobody had me. I was just out there. Like nobody was like, no, there was no solo Dawn. Nobody had my back. I was just like, then my father got diagnosed with cancer. Like it was a lot of stuff. And I was like, how did I get here? So Black Heart to me was, I just said, it was kind of like I'm going to push the truth of how I really want to make music, how I really feel. And I'm going to go the most experimental I can because this is how I feel, which was the best album to me. I think I did out of the colors that just resonated. Black Heart was the album I always wanted to make, right? Because it was the darkness of how I felt. And then I think the response that I got from Black Heart solidified me as a solo artist. That was when I got my courage. Mm-hmm. And that's why Redemption was a freedom for me, because that album, I didn't care if anybody got it, right? That album, I just wanted to make something that felt like liberation. Like it felt like I'm walking on my own path here. I made a lane. I didn't, I finally made something that feels good to me. And so it felt easier. Like Redemption felt like such a lightness. Working with Machine Drum, I just really went for it and said, okay, I like this place that I've created for myself. It isn't what I thought. It wasn't conventional, but I can sit here and create something. I think I'm on to something. And I've never looked back since. And those 3 records, that trilogy saved my life. It saved my life. It showed me my worth. It made me love myself as an artist. And it showed me direction of the possibilities of what a Black woman can do in an industry that doesn't believe in you.
And that's real. And you mentioned falling and learning from your falls, right? And being okay with your falls. And I'm listening to you and I'm going, okay, like her fall, like she needed this fall. Like, you know what I'm saying? She needed this vulnerable moment because, I would assume in the game, in the industry, you get so used to wanting to put out something that pops, something that's going to be a hit. What are people going to like? I think what you did with the colors is you said what do I like and how do I want to see it? Right. And
exactly.
so I think that's so important.
the respective conceptual albums. Like I always wanted to make albums. And the cool thing is, right, going from being in groups that was mainstream and being all about what single. What was funny to me is we would fight for those singles and we never got number ones. Like Damaged, we fought for that, to me, I love Sucker for Love. We chose Damaged, and Damaged still didn't really do number one. It set on the charts, but it wasn't like, we never got like a number one with that. We never really, as Danity Kane, reached that type of thing. Same thing with Dirty Money, right? Coming Home was massive, but Coming Home was never number one, and they really wanted that number one record. But the truth is, I loved, First Place Loser and the records that nobody was listening to. So what I realized is we fought so hard for these number ones, but we never even really reached them. We never even got those albums, and all those things that I was a part of never really reached the levels that they were supposed to reach anyway. And we sacrificed so much that when I created my own stuff as a solo artist, I was like, screw the formula, man. Like nobody knows what the formula is. People will say a number one record sounds like this, and then a ballad will come and be number one. Everybody told you never do a ballad as a single because it would never be number one. Then lo and behold, Adele does a number one, a ballad, and it's number one. Someone says you can't do a record if beats per minute if it's lower than this, and then lo and behold, another record will come and they say, oh no, now we need a single. No one knows what it really is until it hits. So why not make something incredible? Do it for what you love it to be, and then see what happens. And that's, as an indie artist, what I've been able to do is create albums, like sonic experiences. I don't care if a single exists in it. My dream is that you could listen to the whole full body of work and be moved by it. That's what I want to make, is experiences, not singles.
What would be what does it speak to you to express yourself creatively as an artist? Because you've had so many dope ensembles and costumes that you've used in your recent pieces that I adored on when I looked on your Instagram page. So I'm just like, wow, like you really want, as you just say, you spoke on stepping out the box and, going against the norms. What is your creative process like? How did you get those?
I'm a NOLA girl. In New Orleans, the costume is life, right? Mardi Gras, Carnival, like it's just what we are. Like you walk down the street, there's music playing, there's a costume being made, headdresses everywhere. Like that's just culture for me. And I wanted to include that in everything I do. And if you look at all my projects, the headdress is real. There is not a time that I don't have some type of form of headdress or costume that's embodied in what I choose to do within the movement. And that's to pay homage to the culture that I grew up loving. There's something beautiful about Afro-Indigenous culture mixed with urban culture, and New Orleans is just that, right? You'll see a Mardi Gras Indian, a dude with a headpiece and native garb with a gold tooth and a Coors Light. That to me is just brilliance in itself, right? So within my music, I've tried to create the aesthetic where Black and Afrofuturism exist together, right? Where my culture, New Orleans, and Afrofuturism is a world together. And you don't see New Orleans in that space. You've never seen New Orleans in the pop space. You only think about, R&B, soul, jazz. You never think about, the pop. When you think about pop, the closest we had was Britney Spears from Kentwood, Louisiana. You don't think about, that aesthetic for us. And I've always seen the possibilities of what that could be. So in my fashion, I choose to do that based off of the influences of Bjork, Grace Jones, Kate Bush, like those styles, and that can exist within those spaces. Philip Treacy, with the way he used to do his hats and the customization of his hats, is the same way I wish I want to be known for, in the headdress and taking our culture and putting it in a post-apocalyptic world, right? In a futuristic world where you've never seen New Orleans sit before. So a lot of that fashion goes, from taking the past and really pushing us to the possibilities of the future.
Gotcha. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back with Dawn on Party 101.9 Radio.
Let's go, let's rock, don't stop, see you away in my brain, in your arms, I feel safe. Did you know deep down I'll always love you, trying to find my way back to you, how to baby, you know.
We are back with the amazing, the talented, the beautiful Dawn Richard on Party 101.9 Radio. So, Dawn, I think I've been to your concerts more than I've been to anyone's concerts in New York. Because you go crazy.
That's amazing.
So I know you said in a recent interview that you like to make your shows affordable. Why important is that for you?
Because most of my fan base is creatives. They're struggling like I am. And I refuse to make people who have gone through the same things I've gone through pay for something that they can't afford. I want them to be able to have their own art to pay for. And I just want to experience something with them. Just the way you talk to me and you say something, you know, like, this album has changed my life. You guys have changed mine. I don't think you guys understand. Like, I don't exist unless you guys do. So for me, a lot of the times, you know, college students, creatives, they don't have the funding to pay $1,000 for a meet and greet. Like, that's just not realistic. So every show, if you know me and you've been to my shows, I don't pay for meet and greets. I just come out after the show and I talk to people. I do it every show and I stay to the very last person. I think this is imperative. I just think that that's good karma. And I also feel like I learned from you guys. So I'd rather you guys get the experience and we feel like we've had this cathartic experience than to take your money and give you give you half
You can say
worthy
ass.
shows. Like, I just, yeah, sorry. I just wouldn't do that. Like, right. I'm going to give you 2 hours of full on choreography and live vocal. And then I'm going to talk with you after, and you're going to walk away like, that was the best $20 I spent in my whole life. And that's what I would want. That's what I would, you know, I come from a heart, you know, we struggle for our money. So why would I make you pay $100 for a ticket? It's crazy.
Is it hard not performing? I'm sorry, DJ Beans. Is it hard not performing right now because of the pandemic? Like, when was the last time you performed in front of a crowd?
It's been a minute. I've been doing virtual. But I've had New Breed, the album. I went overseas and was able to do a tour there, but I haven't been able to tour New Breed in the US. So when I get back on stage, I have a lot of information to give. So it's going to be an experience, because I definitely want to try to tour 2022 if I can, because this new album is coming out. So I'm going to try to pile on both New Breed, because New Breed is really the first of another trilogy with this new album. So I'm going to try to put it all together and give you guys a good show.
I'll be there, DJ V.
Hey, so talk to us a bit about Bust It For Me. I know you just dropped Bust It For Me about 2.5 weeks ago. I know that's New Orleans swag, New Orleans, the vibe was really cool in the video. Talk to us a little bit about Bust It For Me.
Bust It For Me is, first of all, the reason why it's not Bussifame, because all my gays was like, yes, Bussy. It's Bust It For Me, but you could call it that if you want. But no, it's in New Orleans, we tend to speak fast and we run our words together. So instead of saying Bust It For Me, is Bust It For Me. And I really wanted a record that shows second line. The album is called Second Line. And a second line in New Orleans traditionally is a mini parade that social clubs have. And normally they do it through a funeral, or they do it through celebration of a legacy of some sort. And you'll have a 4-piece to 5-piece brass band. And normally it starts on a street with someone dancing and celebrating. And as it passes through the neighborhood, you can literally just join in. You don't even have to know who the person was that died. You don't even have to know anything. You can just celebrate in the dance and the celebration of a legacy of someone. And that's been traditional. That's been a tradition in our heritage and our culture for a very long time. I wanted an album that stated that, whether we're in a pandemic or not, if you hear it, join it. You can come. This movement is for everybody. And so that's why Bust It For Me celebrates the footwork of the second line. And it's a vibe. It's similar to the Chicago footwork or the Philly footwork. When you think about house music, I try to combine all the aesthetics of what footwork brings. So New Orleans bounce, Chicago footwork, Philly house, Jersey, all of that that energy is put within this record. And you've got this kind of mosh pit of footwork at its best. And that's Bust It For Me. It's supposed to make you dance no matter where you are. And that's what the video is. The whole vibe is like party hard no matter where you are. Second line.
When is the next single releasing, if you don't mind sharing, if you want to share?
There are a few. There is like I said, I do things. So the visuals that we're doing is going to be a short visual film. So we're releasing them separately. So Bust It For Me is a bigger, if you saw the animated trailer as well, these visuals all look similar because they'll all be released as one whole visual. The whole point is for us to be a New Orleans that is post-apocalyptic. And so we don't look polished. Our makeup is smudged. Our clothes isn't necessarily the cleanest. You see the tears, it's supposed to look like as it happened and everything got wiped away, the first people to be on this planet, on this earth, is Black girls, right? And so that's why the Black female will be the constant in all of this. And we all tend to look the same. and we all have our braids done a certain way. It's to kind of celebrate the new breed of what artist is. We are taking over this lane. Whatever you thought, what this lane was, because when you think about electronic music, it's always white men. They celebrate the white male producer, the chain smokers and all of them. They're fine. I love them, but it is very one-dimensional. And so I really want to be blatant in the way in which I'm saying this. And that's why visually you're going to see a lot of that. So we're going to release a lot of singles, because the film, it's not about an actual single. Like I said, it's more about how we're portraying the story. Right. And that's coming severely soon. Like I'm on you, like in this week. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Don, you're pretty much the Jill of all trades. We've seen you dip your hands into acting. Of course, you're a singer. Of course, we know you're an author as well. Is there anything else that you want to cross off your list of accomplishments?
That's a great question. I would love to do more with Adult Swim. I would love to have my own animation house that caters to diversity and queer culture. I'd love to have a space for animation and house a space where most animators don't get jobs. I would love to have a production house of animators that have that. That's a slow moving process because I've just been a creative curator for Adult Swim for a year now, but I'm learning and growing and facilitating those agreements and having a great relationship with them. And I've been able to bring a lot of Black talent to them. And I would love to take that further at some point, whether it's collaborating with them or having my own house. And I also have my vegan business that I just started in New Orleans, Papa Ted's Truck. That's a sensory experience. And we have artists there who mural with plant-based paint. We have DJs and we sell plant-based food. I would love to do more with that and coincide with having more artists and more musicians play while we sell eco-friendly and sustainable food, because that has been a part of my life as well. So those two ventures have been something that I've been really looking toward. It's very new. I've just started Papa Ted's Truck 8 months ago during the pandemic. We've been doing very well in New Orleans. So again, giving back. I want my message to always be the same. I want to be purposeful in everything that I do. When people see that I move, they're like, that makes sense. That's what she's been, that message has been since the very beginning. I want people to be like, she's been saying this message forever. And it really has been since the trilogy. It's been very constant. I want to make a lane for people who don't have the voices to say it themselves. Those creatives who are undermined or not seen. I want to create something for them, and maybe hopefully when it may not be my time, but behind me, they might be able to have a better chance and a space and platforms to be able to do more.
Would you ever kind of manage some artists and kind of build them up?
Oh God, I would never do that to an artist. I would never do that. I would never manage an artist. I think artists are very well to manage themselves. I do think that it would be cool to collaborate and partner with artists. Artists need to own their own journey. I think artists need to learn how to manage themselves so that they don't rely on other people to sell them. I think you need to learn how to sell yourself. Managers to me are so, that 10% they take from you, that 10%, they're taking away from that to me, that cold call sell that you could be doing yourself. They're taking the relationships and learning to do those partnerships that you should be learning to do yourself. I had to cold call Pitchfork and all of them and say, hey, my name's Dawn. I have this product. Will you give me a chance? 70% of them said no. 90% of the industry, all the people that I knew when I was in Dirty Money that was in the studios, they've all rejected me, about 90% of them. But that's okay, because that 10% that I do have, I got it on my own. And those relationships are still there. And I think that that's important for every artist to have. And I think once you develop that managerial skill for yourself, then you just collaborate in partnership with other people. You won't need a manager. You can do collaborations and partnership branding with other people, and that person can go out the window, take that 20% and put it in your pocket.
You have dropped so many gems and just so much advice and just so much words of wisdom for this interview. I can't speak for Miss Mira B and DJ B, but me personally, I am honored to have you on the platform. We are celebrating 250 episodes today, and the fact that you are the guest for this episode.
Congratulations.
Same as well. I feel like this is full circle. You were my favorite member in Danity Kane. I remember it yes, and I watched Making It Bad all season, so I can definitely say the same. I kind of wanted to also ask you before we get out of here, though, can you explain to us what an alchemist is? I hope I'm saying it correctly, but I see that you said you should read the book too. It's incredible. The Alchemist is someone who can turn items into gold. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So it's through a spiritual connection. It's through a process of learning. You really should read the book because it is about paying it forward. It is about being a Samaritan, but it is also about a soul search to learn to create that element, to be someone that can create something into an element.
Mhm.
I feel like I've had to do that through my life. I've had to take scrap every time and figure out how to make that shit, how to make it shine. And I've been dealt these hands, and I've had to, like, I don't know, make it make sense. And I've gotten really good at doing it. You know, I've been able to make all these visuals and be with no money, and try to be respectful to the teams that I've worked with and make sure that they're paid with when I don't have much. And I think that's, to me, if anybody can do that, that's a form of alchemy. It may not be the one that you read, it may not be in its traditional sense, but if you can come from nothing and create an empire or an ecosystem that works for you, I call you an alchemist.
Wow. Wow. Thank you.
You know,
you,
Don,
Don,
I
for
see,
doing
I
that.
see
So
so much
inspirational.
strength coming from you. Your light, your spirit has been so amazing. And you know what? There's a French writer. His name is Andre Moreau or Marois. I don't know how to say his name, but one thing he says is,
Mhm.
"I wish you obstacles and struggles. Battles will strengthen you. The hostile world will have sculpted you." And I see so much of that in you. And thank you for sharing. Thank you, honestly, for sharing all that you
What's
have.
his last name? What's his
M
last name? Andre what?
Maurois. So I don't know if it's Maroy, Maros. He's a French writer, and it's a great quote. He says, "I wish you obstacles and struggles, battles will strengthen you. By the age, a full quote is, by the age of 50 or 60, you will acquire the vigor and toughness of old storm-lashed rocks. The hostile world will have sculpted you." And so I see you have literally carved yourself out of stone, and you are just so strong. And here at the Fresh Movement, we love you so much.
So much.
We're waiting for
Absolutely.
Thank you
April.
guys so
We're
much.
waiting for April. We're waiting for this album now.
Yeah.
April
You know,
30th. April
you know what I'm saying?
30th. We've got some really dope vinyls too. You got to check out the vinyls. It's insane. It's an actual head. Like, you guys can go to mergerecords.com, and we have 3 different types of vinyls. We made it specifically. It's super affordable for people to get. Like, I think you guys should check it out because we've got different kinds that work, and I think the creators will really rock it. And it's the original sketch of King Creole, which is on the face of the vinyl. So make sure you guys check that out. You can pre-order it before you get it April 30th.
There we go, guys. That was Don Richard, and we're about to play Bussifame on Party 101.9 Radio.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.